there'll be a lot of people who defend what Trump is doing. Hey, there was those two MSNBC folks, remember, the hosts who went down to Mar-a-Lago and are still complaining that they've been criticized for doing so. Well, there's going to be too much of that. But for everyone else, I think two things are important. First, going forward, people have to defend one another. An attack on one is an attack on all. Whether or not you agree with someone who worked on the January 6th committee or wrote critically or spoke out critically against Trump, as soon as he begins to indict, attack, sue these people, everyone needs to come to their defense. Hi, this is Jen Rubin, and this is Jen Rubin's Green Room. It's Friday. We had some good economic news again. It seems that the economy added 227,000 jobs last month, and there was a reevaluation of the two previous months, so more than 50,000 more jobs were added. So once again, I think this is evidence that the Biden economic plan was successful. The increase in wages and in real income is up about 4% this year, much higher than inflation. So workers are doing better. Now, is it true that people don't feel overall like they are getting ahead or that they are getting squeezed by rising housing costs, rising food costs? Yes, these are real things, and Democrats have not done a great job of addressing those real concerns. But the notion that this is the worst possible economy, that we're in decline, that we're falling behind the rest of the world is nonsense. It is nonsense that was perpetrated by the Republicans, that the mainstream media simply parroted, and frankly, that Democrats didn't do enough to fight back against. They did a lot for the middle class and the working class. Look at the $1 trillion of private investment that was pushed towards the infrastructure, the CHIPS Act, other investments. With that federal funding, private industry stepped up and made a huge, historic investment that has provided jobs, that has provided a new opportunity for people in the heartland. So there's plenty that Biden should take credit for, and that he no doubt will, and perhaps in retrospect, he'll get more credit. But it's going to be very interesting to see that Donald Trump, once he takes office, is going to turn around on a dime and declare the economy is great. And of course it is. It never stopped being great. We had a recession. We had a spate of inflation. But overall, we lead the world. And when you look at the economic situation in Europe, in China, which the Republicans seem to believe is some kind of colossus, it shows that the American economy is dynamic, is productive, is innovative, and we should keep doing the things that work. And that does not mean giving more tax breaks to billionaires. This didn't happen because we gave Elon Musk a tax break. It happened because we made smart investments in things that mattered, like infrastructure, like technology. It's because we spent money in ways that helped ordinary people get through the recession. And we have made a down payment on new industries of the future, like solar, like EV. And I think it's about time that Democrats take some credit for what they've done. And they will have an opportunity to do so. And here's where I think Democrats need to go next. The Republicans are not only planning another huge tax cut for billionaires, they are planning through this DOGE, this cockamamie plan to cut government that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have cooked up, to cut enormous swaths of government. They're going to eliminate the education department. They're going to cut Medicaid. They're going to cut veterans' health, on and on and on. Republicans are essentially cutting government that helps ordinary people so they can give tax cuts to billionaires. It's that simple. And Democrats get themselves tied up in knots, being too clever, being too cute, and instead they should lay it out like this. Democrats are there to protect the middle class and the working class. They're there to advocate for tax breaks, for investments that help those people. They're not going to allow the government, for example, to take money away from schools in order to give it to Elon Musk. That's the argument that they should be making, and they should be making it every day, frankly. Donald Trump is going to do a lot of crazy stuff. He's going to have a lot of crazy, inappropriate nominees. We know that. But the average American, frankly, doesn't know who Pete Hegseth is and doesn't really care. He cares whether his life is getting better or her life is getting better. And they really do care, for example, whether the schools are performing well or whether their healthcare costs are going up. So Democrats cannot get distracted. They should oppose ridiculous, unqualified, dangerous nominees, but they have to really focus on the American people. And so far, Republicans have not come up with anything that's going to help those people. What, tax cuts for billionaires? This is trickle-down economics again. That's not going to help the average person. What about food prices? What about housing costs? They really don't have any kind of plan for any of that. And Democrats would be very smart to return to that. Now, there is another issue that is looming because the Republicans are in the process of trying to install people like Kash Patel, and because Trump is on his crusade of vengeance, that there is legitimate concern that hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent people who may have testified in a Trump trial, may have worked as a poll worker in an election in 2020, may have worked on a newspaper article that was critical of Trump, may have litigated in some way against Trump, that all of those people, plus people who worked, for example, on the January 6th hearing, all those people are in danger of being prosecuted. And how do we know it? Because Kash Patel has an enemies list that he has delightfully shared with everyone. And it won't be just those people. It will be lots of other people. And it will be anyone who is critical of Trump. Now, going forward, that is going to be a nightmare for many people. And worse than the actuality of being sued or indicted or audited is the threat of being so. And there will be a great number of people who will be cowed into silence. No, I'm not going to be cowed into silence, and many others won't. But there will be some. There will be a lot of people who mute their criticism. There will be a lot of people who decide to talk about other things. There will be a lot of people who defend what Trump is doing. Hey, there was those two MSNBC folks, remember, the hosts who went down to Mar-a-Lago and are still complaining that they've been criticized for doing so. Well, there's going to be too much of that. But for everyone else, I think two things are important. First, going forward, people have to defend one another. An attack on one is an attack on all. Whether or not you agree with someone who worked on the January 6th committee or wrote critically or spoke out critically against Trump, as soon as he begins to indict, attack, sue these people, everyone needs to come to their defense. That means lawyers, that means judges, that means civil society, that means state and local politicians. There has to be a zero tolerance for this kind of retribution and targeting that is so typical of fascist regimes. And then there's the question of people who have already been targeted because of what they have done in the past. And as I wrote this week for the Washington Post, those people need to be protected. They need a safe harbor. And the President of the United States can do that. He can do that by extending a pardon to these people. He does not need to say that they've actually done something illegal. In fact, he can make clear that they haven't. He can simply say that this is a preventative measure because Trump and people like Kash Patel have targeted hundreds of Americans. And as his last act of defending the Constitution and the rule of law, he's going to protect those people, as many as humanly possible. And he can name some people by name. He can make categories of people that are protected, but he should do this. It shouldn't be just Hunter Biden who gets a free raid. It shouldn't be just Hunter Biden that gets to stay out of prison. There are many people who are much more deserving, quite frankly, witnesses, election workers, all sorts of Americans whose only crime was to have supported the rule of law and spoken out against Donald Trump. So I would certainly hope that the president takes that to heart, protects people for what they have done, what they have said in the past, and that going forward, we have public officials who are willing to stand up to people and willing to say, no, this will not stand. We will not tolerate the targeting of individuals because they're critical of the Trump regime and the Trump administration. So it's going to be a rocky 4 years. Let's not make any bones about it. But there will also be opportunities. And on that score, I think Democrats would be smart to concentrate on a few big themes. First, corruption. There's going to be lots of it. We already see it. The people who are being appointed to these positions, relatives, cronies, Trump has been making no bones about it. He's going to continue to do his international business. There is going to be corruption of a scale and size we have not seen, perhaps ever, in American history. Democrats should be clear about this. This is the worst of the swamp. And come 2026, they should be running on the culture of corruption. It has worked before when Republicans have been in power, and it will work again. Secondly, Democrats have got to get back to their economic message. What are they doing for the little guy? What are they doing to prevent the big guys from ripping us off? They should be going after big pharma. They should be going after big insurance companies. They should be going after the Elon Musks. And I think Republicans are going to be hard-pressed to say that they're for the little guy when it's Elon Musk who's getting the billions of dollars in savings. And lastly, I think Democrats do have to take a position that what America says and does around the world matters. Are we really going to be on the side of the dictators, on the plutocrats, on the human rights abusers? Are we really going to be on the side of that Vladimir Putin? Are we really going to allow people who are fighting for their very existence in Ukraine, are we going to let them go down the tubes? So I think some major themes advocated consistently, persuasively by Democrats will help them come back. It'll help them unify their party. It will help them attract independents. And remember, Republicans are going to overreach like nobody's business. If they actually go forward with tariffs, it's going to be disastrous for the little guy. Are they actually going to try to deport millions upon millions of people? Well, good luck holding food prices down if the farm industry is disrupted. Good luck holding house prices down if the construction industry is riddled with a unbelievably stupid, destructive, inhumane dragnet program. So there'll be lots to do. There'll be lots to talk about. And remember, 2025, we're going to have some elections. We're going to have governor's race in New Jersey and in Virginia. We're going to have legislative races in those places. There'll be some special elections because Trump is putting people in Congress in executive branch positions, and there'll be other people who leave and resign. So now that we've gotten over our funk, we're past Thanksgiving, we're headed into the holidays, we should enjoy ourselves, get refueled. There's going to be lots of things to talk about and fight about in the weeks, months, years ahead. So keep the faith. And if you like this program, you like our other programs, please tell your friends. They can listen and follow us wherever they get their podcasts. Bye-bye.